Hi. Yes, I'm missing a nail. Yes, we're going to ignore that. Okay, so I don't really sit down and talk with you guys that much. Like, there's not a whole bunch of just, like a convo going here, which I know you can't talk back. So is it really a conversation? I don't know. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be discussing 8 things I learned through 8 years of a failed marriage. I think that these tips are good in your relationship no matter what stage you're at. Whether you're married, whether you're just dating, whatever. Number 1, it is okay to fight. Not fighting does not equal a healthy relationship, okay? I thought it did. For the longest time, through 8 years of a failed marriage, I thought that not fighting meant you had a healthy relationship. In my experience, we did not fight, hardly ever. And when we did, it wasn't so much a fight as it was just like a little bit of attitude thrown around. And then, because I went through some severe hormonal issues. If you look back on my video from the very beginning of my channel, I told you about how I'd married for 4 years and I was still a virgin. And there's a lot in that, as well as the updated version of that, which there is a second video. There's just like, I dealt with so many hormonal problems the first several years of my marriage, and I was a jerk. And so those little fights, they weren't like fights, like, but I just had an attitude and that would cause a problem. Other than that, we didn't really fight. That does not mean the relationship is healthy. Fighting is actually good. And that's not just me saying that as like, what do I call him? He was my boss, he was my pastor, and he was also a counselor. Like, he went to school for psychology as well as he became a pastor. One of the most amazing men, most amazing people I've ever met. And I owe so much to him. And anyways, I had counseling with him for a while. He himself said that to me and my ex, that like, do you fight? And we're like, no. And he goes, why not? Like, you should fight. Fighting is healthy. You get things out. That doesn't mean you need to be mean when you fight. Fighting isn't necessarily mean. I'll tell you right now, in my current relationship, we fight sometimes. They're not always mean. It's not like someone calls someone a name, like you're in the heat of the moment and you're like, yeah, well, F you, that's mean fighting. We don't mean fight, but we argue about stuff, and it is healthy. One thing I'll say, at the end of an argument, when we are good again, it feels amazing. Like, we feel closer, at least in my opinion, I feel closer to that person after a fight than before. And it just gives you a chance to say things, because not everything is always rainbows and butterflies and sunshine. Life sucks, and it's okay to be real with your partner. If you feel like, fight! And if that person can't handle it, then that person can't handle a relationship. Okay? Bad things happen. Handle fighting, okay? And if you see that you and your partner are fighting a lot, don't think, well, we just aren't meant to be. If that's the only reason, not necessarily, like, don't use that as a reason to not be with someone, because fighting is healthy. Number 2, pride and stubbornness are detrimental to a relationship. Honestly, detrimental to everything. Pride is, it's terrible. It can tear everything apart. I had a lot of pride and a lot of stubbornness in my marriage. And I don't mean with my husband, I mean with people on the outside. So if you watch those other videos, I got married when I was 19 years old. Because of that, there were so many people who had stuff to say. And my parents were one of them. I'm just gonna be honest. Hi, Mom. I know you're watching. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but they weren't happy about it. And looking back, duh. But at the time, his family was completely supportive and kind of pushing it, while mine, they were supportive but trying to slow it down. And so when things were going poorly in my relationship with him, one, I couldn't turn to his family in my mind, because I'm like, that's his family, because I was friends with several of his siblings. But I'm like, but I can't talk to them about this. Who else did I have? My parents. Heck no, I can't talk to them about this. And that's where the pride and stubbornness came in. I was too proud to admit to them that something was wrong in my relationship. And I was too stubborn to admit that I was wrong. And aside from that, I didn't have any friends. So I kept everything to myself because of the pride and the stubbornness. I am still very stubborn, but I'm learning sometimes you have to just deal with it. Like, get over yourself. If I had just gone to them sooner, I could have said, you can tell me I told you so, but I need help. And that's the thing. Not everyone is blessed enough to have people who love them surrounding them. And I can't imagine that. But for those of us who do have family and friends who care about us, they're gonna forgive you. They're gonna look past that and help you. Don't let pride and stubbornness keep you in a bad situation. In my mind, I was thinking going to my parents or just admitting to the world that something's wrong would be worse than just staying in this bad situation. No, the bad situation is worse. And the bad situation, when you are living in a bad situation, it doesn't just stay bad. It's going to keep getting worse. It either gets better or it gets worse. And that's what happened. So I beg of you, don't let your pride and don't let stubbornness stop you from reaching out for help or just talking to somebody about things that might be going wrong, because when you're in something, you can't see it clearly. Like, you cannot see it clearly. Number 3, you need someone who you trust that you can talk to who isn't your spouse. There's a word for it. I can't think of the word. All of my outside connections, friends, family, everything, I was kind of forced to cut off. So I had nobody really other than my spouse. And you can't talk to your spouse about all the things about your spouse. He made me believe that was the case. Like, if you have a problem, my battery died, I apologize. So they would say, if you have a problem with me, tell me about it. And while on the outside, that sounds like a great plan. It really, really does. Like, if you have a problem with me, tell me, and we can fix it. The problem with that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't tell your partner when you have a problem with them. Definitely. Tell them. But you also need somebody else outside of the situation to talk to. Because what happens when you're with a master manipulator and you tell them a problem you have with them and they turn it around to make you feel like that isn't a problem, or the problem is actually with you, what then? You believe it. If you tell them what you're having a problem with, and then you tell someone else, if they're like, oh, that's not a problem, and they make you feel like it's not, this other person can be like, yeah, that's a problem. And it can actually get you to start thinking, and you're not going to be nearly as easily manipulated when you have people in your corner who are not in the situation like you are. It just happens. You get too close to something. Also, just emotionally, your emotions, oh my gosh, your emotions cloud your judgment so much. Sometimes that's okay. And the fact of like, everybody's not perfect. There is no perfect relationship because it's two broken people coming together, but you have love for them that will overlook their flaws. And that's great to an extent. If their flaws are abusive, then that is something you should not be looking over. Have someone on the outside who you trust and you value their opinion that you can talk to. Number 4, therapy is hard and scary, but so worth it. Okay? I would still be in a bad relationship if it wasn't for therapy. I refused therapy for so long. I feel like it was years that he was asking me to go to therapy. Like, we should go to couples counseling. And I'm like, no, why? Like, I don't want to talk to somebody who I don't know. So much social anxiety. I still do, but it's a little better. But I was just like, no, I don't want to be told that I'm not doing things right. Because that's what I was made to feel. Like, I wasn't doing things right. And I wasn't interested. I didn't want to be told I needed to do things differently. Like, the relationship was my fault. I didn't want that. So I refused for a long time. Then finally I agreed. There are things that happened personally that made me agree, and I'm not gonna go into that, but no matter the reason, I finally agreed to go, and it saved my life. I mean, went into therapy thinking one thing and being revealed other things that I did not know were a problem. And I probably wouldn't even be here today if I didn't have therapy. And I'm not saying like, oh, my ex would have killed me or what. No, like I was so emotionally damaged and full of depression and all that kind of stuff that was just getting worse and worse and worse through the relationship that I probably wouldn't be. All that aside, you might be someone who's like, I don't want to go to therapy. Please do. Now, it's not easy and it is so scary. But if you find the right therapist and you connect with them, it's unreal how amazing you'll feel after. It might take a few sessions before you get comfortable. It took me several sessions before I got comfortable. I didn't say a word the first few sessions. Like, during the couples counseling part, I was silent like the whole time. It was a lot. But it's a little tip I have for you. If you're someone like me, talking is hard. Like sharing your emotions verbally is very hard because I can get choked up pretty easily, and I won't talk if I feel like it's going to choke me up because I can't stand that. I can write though. I can write pretty well. And my therapist was asked, my counselor, my boss, my pastor, he asked if I journaled or anything. I was like, no, but I write, whatever. So long story short, he said, write these questions I have for you, write them down and then give me the notebook to read. So it's me telling him without having to verbally tell him, because I would get paralyzed when I was trying to say things. They were hard things to say. And so whenever I could write them down, I'd write them down. I'd go in the morning, because again, he was my boss, so we worked together. I'd go in the morning, hand him the notebook, and leave. And then later in the day, when he's had time to read it and digest it, then we'd talk about it. And that was amazing. So if you're someone like, I just can't talk to somebody. They also have online therapy where you can just online chat, phone call, video if you want, or just online chat. That's the way to go if you're someone like me and you're like, I don't want to talk. So there's options out there. Do not use any of that as an excuse not to go. Number 5, it is never too late to start over. So I'm saying that though got divorced at 28, like officially divorced. I left him when I was 28. I don't know, 27. Anyways, that does not matter. Then I thought I was old. People get divorced way later in life. It doesn't matter if you're flipping 70 years old. If you're in a bad situation, get out of it and you can find somebody else. Or you can be by yourself if you want that. I want to be with somebody. So that was a huge thing. Like, I don't want to be alone. And I can't picture myself ever developing feelings for someone else again, because I was so broken. It is never too late to start over. I don't care how far along you are in your relationship. And this is not, oh my gosh, me saying that, this is not a video of me pushing divorce, saying divorce is good. Yes, I'm against divorce. Like, I really am. But there are situations that are bad that you don't realize are bad that I think you need to get out of. And I think as a Christian, God doesn't want you in that situation. He will forgive you. Okay, abuse isn't always physical. That's what a lot of people think, like, oh, if you're getting abused, you can leave. But people usually, when they hear the word abuse, they think of bruises and hitting and punching and crying, and that's not all abuse. Most abuse is not physical. So keep that in mind. Number 6, God is always there even when you don't see it. For the first, I want to say 5 to 6 years of my marriage, I felt that God had abandoned me. The things that weren't going right, I didn't understand. And I was like, why would God be withholding this from this relationship? Why is he not helping me in this relationship? Like, why is this relationship going poorly? Because we did everything right, I thought. I would pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and pray for what this relationship was missing. And he wouldn't give it to me. And I didn't understand. Like, it broke my heart. I'm like, does he just not, like, I didn't get it. So I started to resent him, honestly. I started being angry with God, which that was something I got to in therapy. And I was so scared to even say it out loud, because I was at the point where I'm like, I'm mad at God and I'm terrified that I'm mad at God, because who the hell am I to be mad at God? It's like an ant being mad at me. What? There's not, like, I'm nothing compared to God. I have no right to be angry with him. But I was. Turns out, what I was thinking was an unanswered prayer or a no to my prayer. It was a wait, because there's something better. His no to my prayer request saved me, truly saved me. Like, so much worse things would have happened if he had given me what I was asking for. And like, it puts a smile on my face. Like, I can't help it every single time I think about it. I was so distraught, like, why won't he give me this? And hindsight is like, I'm so glad he didn't, because things would have gotten worse. And he knew that, obviously. And so just, if you're praying to God and you're not getting the answer you want, or you don't see that you're getting an answer at all, please just trust him. He is there. He is watching over you. There is a reason for everything. There's a reason why he says yes, no, or wait to your prayer requests. Trust it. And it might not be until you are 80 years old, or it might not be until you die and get to heaven that you see why he said no to certain things. And it's always for the best. So he is always there. He has not abandoned you. I promise you that. Number 7, time is the most valuable and precious asset you have. So do not waste it. Money, you always think of money as being a huge asset and like the most valuable thing you can have. Because when you think of valuable, you just think of money. Money is the value. You can always earn more money. You can never get time back. You spend $50, it's like, now I'm out $50, so I can go earn some more and get $50 again. I can earn and get $100 instead. You waste 8 years of your life, you do not get those 8 years back. You can't do anything to add 8 more years to the end of your life to make up for it. That time is gone. Okay? I wasted so much of it. And if you're in a relationship that is bad, that is abusive, that is toxic, you're wasting precious time. You're wasting the one resource that you cannot make more of, which makes it the most valuable and the most rare resource that there is. So stop wasting it. You can be happy. You can be very happy. There are, 7 billion people? Or is it 9 billion now? I don't even know. In the world, you don't have to be with this one if you're not being treated right, okay? All right, and number 8. If you have to change everything about yourself for someone else, that means 2 things. 1, you will lose yourself. And 2, that person never loved you. What I mean by that is, yeah, you can change a few things. It is not this is what you get, take it or leave it. Because true love, you will change things about yourself for somebody else. But to a point. If you are changing everything about yourself, and it comes down to petty things like your taste in decor, your taste in music, like the way you talk. If you're changing those kinds of things for someone else, you're not who you originally were anymore. And that will catch up to you. You may not notice it at first. I didn't. I was so in love. I was like, I will do anything for this person. I will be anything for this person. Not realizing, why on earth do they not want me to be me? It's not me that they love. It's the idea of me. And they're trying to get me to become that idea of me. When someone tries to mold you into the version of you that they want, they don't want you. They see someone there who is young and naive, and they see what they can make them. Now, when I say there are things that you can change for somebody that, like, say you have a bad habit of leaving clutter around or like leaving trash around. Like I'll have a wrapper or something and I just leave things all over the place. That's something that if they want you to change it and you can change it, change it. That's not changing you. It's changing little bad habits, little things like that, but changing you to the core. Basically, I don't even know what to say. Just stay true to yourself and realize that you deserve to be treated with respect and love. Be loved for who you are. There's so many details about my marriage and my divorce that I'm not sharing. But hopefully this gives you enough of an idea to kind of understand, because I'm not someone who is for divorce. I'm anti-divorce, and I was anti-divorce for so long that I was staying in a bad situation before I realized this is the kind of bad situation that I feel God will forgive me for getting out of. This goes even if you're not married. If you're just in a relationship, you're dating, please look at this stuff deeply now before you get as far as marriage, because it's a lot harder to get out of once you're there. The little red flags are important because they don't get smaller. They don't stay the same size. They get bigger and they multiply. Don't waste your time. The one thing you can't get more of, do not waste it. So anyways, I feel like I rambled a bit, but you can ask questions in the comments if you want. I'll try to answer what I can without giving too much away, because I don't want to drag someone else's name through the mud. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I made mistakes. Sure, I made mistakes. I wish I could tell you everything. I really wish I could, but I'm just trying to be respectful somewhat. Because I also want to bring attention to problems in relationships, because there are things that I didn't know were problems and I didn't know could fester into much bigger problems. If it's small now, it's not going to stay small forever. Pray all the time and don't give up even if you're not getting the answer you want, because whatever God's answer is so much better. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and ask questions in the comments and let me know if there's anything else, deeper that you want to know. And before too long, I'm going to introduce you to my new boyfriend. So I'm excited about that. Anyways, thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day.